you, but you're carrying on this quest for your father.
Yes, sir.
How much did he know?
He knew very little other than a name on a birth certificate. He heard a lot of different stories, that they found her wallet on the side of the road, so she must be dead. They heard that she was actually from Canada and wasn't supposed to be here. They've heard so many stories, and nothing ever panned out.
So you're doing this in part to honor him, and you say you'd like her at your wedding.
Yes, sir.
Is there any part of you that has any resentment towards her if she ever is found?
Part of me, yes, but in my own thought process, I don't really know what she was going through at that moment, so I can't.
You're going to find out.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Tyler and Teresa contacted Troy Dunn, the locator, to help them find Crystal. But they didn't know they would meet Troy before the show. Let's take a look at that.
I'd be very interested in talking to Troy Dunn to find out how he is looking to find her and if he has found any kind of information. Because I need to get some kind of closure for Paul and for ourselves.
Hey, Teresa.
Hey.
Tyler, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
All right.
I know that the search began with a letter from you, but from what I read, it sounds like you are in some ways doing this for Tyler.
I am doing this for Tyler. He's getting married soon, and I realized that at the wedding, the bride's family is going to be there, and my side of the family is going to be there, and it just kind of feels like Paul's getting lost.
Teresa, what does closure look like to you?
I hate to say this, but I sometimes feel like, I didn't do enough for him. I blame myself a lot for his death, because sometimes I did give up. There's no way we're going to be able to find her. I'm sorry, Paul. I wonder if things would have been different if I was able to find her.
You wait until my friend Dr. Phil finds out that you blame yourself for your husband's death. And it sounds like what you're saying is that you believe that completing this search would help your husband, your father, in some way, rest in peace.
I believe in it.
Yes, sir. I believe the same.
That is a valiant reason to search. What's best case scenario on this?
For me, it would probably be being able to find her, to actually meet, and for her to come to my wedding.
Worst case scenario?
That you do find her and she could have cared less about Paul or Tyler.
You do understand that's a possibility.
Oh, I absolutely understand, but at least then I would know.
If for some reason we end up on a call with Crystal, what could I tell her in behalf of you?
Probably that she has a grandson that wants her to be at his wedding.
You want me to invite her to your wedding?
Yeah, if you can.
And is there something, Teresa, that you would have me say to her?
I want her to know that her son is a good man and a good father, a good husband.
You have both mentioned that you were doing this to honor your dad's memory, to honor your husband's memory, and it would be my honor to join you in that effort and do our very best and see if we can't find something, somebody, to bring some sense of peace to your life and to his soul.
You've been doing this a long time. How hard is it to find someone that has been missing for 40 years?
This particular story is riddled with misinformation. When they wrote in, reading what they wrote and going through the details, my literal reaction as I hit the last line was, holy Dr. Phil, because I knew I was going to need you to help me navigate this one.
Right.
So I appreciate that you brought us all here.
Yeah. And the concern, obviously, is that these things aren't always happy endings, and it can be really ugly on the other end.
I have firsthand experience with the concept of the phrase, be careful what you ask for.
Right. While searching for Tyler's grandmother, we stumbled on to something else, and we're going to explain that after the break.
I still have problems every single day. I remember everything like it was yesterday. I remember the day he took his life, like a picture stained in my head, him leaned over on the wall with the gun and the blood everywhere. I have not been able to erase that from my mind.
Well, Tyler's father, Paul, struggled with abandonment issues when his mother disappeared from his life when he was just a toddler. She left one picture of herself behind and a whole lot of unanswered questions. There is someone who might be able to provide some valuable background information because she did know Crystal many years ago. Her name is Shaina, and she is Paul's older half-sister. She was 5 years old when her mother, Crystal, took her and her brother, leaving Paul and his sister, Elizabeth, behind. Now, Shaina never saw or heard from Paul again, but she's here today. And you didn't even know she existed, correct?
Right.
Please welcome Tyler's aunt, Shaina. Shaina, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Shaina, this is your nephew, Tyler.
Hi.
It's really nice to meet you.
And this is his mother, Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for being willing to come and talk about all this. You've just been in the dark about everything, right? And just been pretty isolated.
Yeah,
Because you never saw him again after what age?
about 5.
But you remember him
I remember him.
vividly.
Yes. I remember just playing together in the house. We were pretty little. I was the oldest.
They've known him much more recently than you have. Do you have any questions for these two about your brother?
What happened?
Paul's dad died when he was 11, and he ended up in foster care and then ended up with some guardians. And then he joined the military, and he had an injury in the military. He was honorably discharged. We went on to have children, and then in 2014, he had battled some issues with abandonment and PTSD, and he always felt very protective over people. And there was a drug dealer in town that was trying to deal drugs to children and mess around with some elderly people, and he confronted him, and this person hit him in the back of the head. After that, he had short-term memory loss. He couldn't control his emotions anymore. A year later, I came home from work early, and he was in a deep depression, and he ended up going into the bathroom, locking the door, and before we could get the door open, he shot himself.
My God. I'm so sorry.
And you spent how much time with Crystal?
Well, until I was 5, I was with her. And then I saw her once when I was 16, and she lived with me for a few months when I was 19.
I want to talk about what happened during that time next.
So this is just heartbreaking. The story about what happened to Paul that led up to him unaliving himself is so tragic. And it's completely understandable that he would have issues with abandonment. He's abandoned by his mother, and then his father passes away at age 11. Going into foster care would be horribly traumatic. It's great to hear that through all of that, he still sounded like a wonderful and loving person. And it's very unfortunate that being such a good person, having such a good heart and wanting good things for other people led to him receiving a traumatic brain injury. It's just very tragic, and it's an example of how one person's choice can have these ripple effects in a family.
Hopefully through all this, I can meet some more family members and build new relationships for my children and my grandchildren. I was excited to meet a nephew that I didn't even know I had. And so if he's getting married, then that'll be another family member. If they have children, that'll be more family.
Well, just 2 weeks ago, Shaina got a call from Troy Dunn, the locator, and was informed her half-brother Paul had committed suicide and his son was looking for her. Now today, she met her nephew Tyler and his mother Teresa for the first time. And so I really was curious about what happened to Shaina after she last saw Paul. Take a look.
When I was 5, my mom put me in the car and we left Paul. I knew that we were leaving for good. I never saw him again. Once we left, we were on the road with truck drivers. I think my mom was dating the truck drivers. We would sleep in the back, sleeper compartment about this big, with my head at one end and their heads at the other end. Out of the blue one day, the truck driver that we were with took my mom and I to a hotel. Next thing I know, she puts my stuff in a box and told me that she couldn't take care of me and somebody was coming to take me to a different home. And a social worker came and I got in the car and left. That was 5 when I went to the first foster home. Some of the foster homes were good, and the worst one I was by the boyfriend of one of the grown daughters. When I was 10, a family member was able to get custody of me and I left. I thought all of that was over now and I was going to be with family and going to be happy. I ended up putting myself back into foster care. I was in 21 different homes. In the last group home, I was 16, pregnant, so I became emancipated. I ended up getting my own place with my first child, and then I got married at 18.
You know, we're talking about these abandonment issues and this woman that you're going to look for. There seems to be a pattern here. At 5 years old, she just gives you a box and says, "I'm not going to take care of you anymore. Somebody else is going to do that." And Shaina says at 19, Crystal asked to stay with her because she was homeless, right?
Right.
Take a look at this.
When I was 19 and married, somehow my husband talked with my mom. She was in a hospital for depression, needed somewhere to go. Before I even knew it, he had made arrangements for her to live with us. Well, it was pretty weird. My mom moved in, she didn't have a job, and I'm pretty much supporting her. She stayed in her room a lot. She was very negative and pessimistic and grouchy. My mom started seeing this guy, and for some reason, she was sneaking him in and out the bedroom window. I was more like the mother, she was more like the child. One night, she came over and just dropped a note on the floor in front of me. The note said, "This isn't working out, we're not getting along, I'll be leaving soon." And that was the last time that I ever saw her. Oh my gosh, that's my mom, and that's me.
Is this the only picture that you have of your mom?
I don't even have a picture of my mom. They just showed this to me today. I haven't seen my mom in 30 years. I would love to meet her if she was still alive.
What's y'all's reaction to, I mean, this is the reality of what this woman's life has been and the impact it's had.
I'd rather know than not know.
But we have some more family members in the audience. Shaina's daughter, Anastasia, is here. She is Tyler's cousin. She's sitting next to Tyler's fiance. So guys, say hi.
Nice to meet you, Tyler.
So we have a lot of players here involved in this. How does it feel to know that you do have a cousin that you didn't know about?
It's really crazy. We never had any cousins or uncles or anything our whole life. So he's my first cousin, you know, on my mom's side, sorry. So it's crazy.
Yeah. That's good news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're glad to meet
Happy
him?
tears.
Yeah. So Troy did find out some information about Crystal, which I may need to prepare this family to hear if this search is going to continue. We'll talk about that after the break. Well, Tyler contacted Troy Dunn, the locator, to help track down his paternal grandmother, Crystal, who he has never met. And Crystal, I think it's pretty clear, abandoned his father. Troy was able to find Tyler's aunt, Shaina, who has filled in some parts of the dad's story. So you've made some progress, right?
We have made some progress, Dr. Phil. It's been a really strange process so far because we're jumping through certificates of the wreckage of her life, to be real blunt. I mean, we're going through divorce certificates, marriage certificates, certificates that weren't actually correct. There's lots of missing pieces out there. There are lots of possible outcomes.
We did find out some family tree information that you were able to piece together, right?
Yeah.
And I want to take a look at that. We've got John, who was dad 1, Jim's dad 2, then we've got dad number 3 and dad number 4. You're pretty confident that these 4 people existed.
We believe that there's at least that many.
You've got Shaina, 1970, then Sean, 1971. And then you've got Paul and Elizabeth. And this was from dad number 2. And these 2 were left with dad number 2 when she departed with you. Correct?
That's correct.
And your sister, okay. Now, this was about 1975, 71 when she left, then 73 and 75 for Paul and Elizabeth. Now, Jamie was born in 1979. Now, did you know about Jamie? This is a girl.
Yes, only now that you mention it, though, I had forgotten all about it. I'd never met her.
You've never met her?
Only heard about her, yeah.
Okay. And you guys, of course, knew nothing about this, right?
No.
Then from dad number 4 in 1992 is Bo. So she basically had 6 children. She raised 1 out of 6, right?
And even, yes, that might even be a stretch, but yes, there was 1 that stayed with her longer than the others.
Yeah.
And the other 5 are scattered.
Yeah. And there is one more piece of the puzzle, and that is Troy, who is relentless, did find Crystal, and she is here. So let's please welcome Crystal. Crystal, let me make some introductions here, because some of these people I know that you can't know. This is your grandson, Tyler. It's Paul's son. This is Teresa, his wife. You know Shaina, of course.
Hi.
You didn't know Shaina was going to be here, right?
No.
And you haven't seen her for how long?
It's, what, 30 years?
Yeah.
How do you feel about being here?
A little bit scared, but happy that there might be some more family.
Anything you want to say to your grandmother?
Just why did you just leave my father when he was real young?
Well, your father was little, and his father started becoming so mean. I didn't have the skills I didn't have any pride in myself either, because I was taught that I was slow.
Where have you been all these years? Did you want to not be found, people not know where you were?
No, that wasn't my intention, but my phone never rang for somebody looking for me.
But you knew you had children out there.
Yeah.
Did it ever occur to you that you might want to reach out to those children and just let them know where you were, or be curious how they were doing, or?
I actually tried. I couldn't pay an investigator much.
Sure.
So I got one that would take what little I had, and he came up with nothing. And that just sent me further down into a tailspin. Mm-hmm. I would have been able to keep the kids if my family had been there for me. I had nobody. I couldn't even get a lawyer. My two sisters would not even stand beside me. My mother told me, I made my bed, now lay in it. Nobody, I had nobody.
Well, coming up, Tyler's question was, why wasn't Crystal in his father's life? She gave somewhat of an answer, and then I'm going to introduce someone else to this conversation to talk about some of the genetics involved here. We'll be right back.
So it is unbelievably tragic to hear how her daughter Shaina's life panned out and all of the trauma that she suffered, also winding up in the foster system. So, there's really no excuse for this behavior, for abandoning all of her kids. She abandoned 6 kids, or one of them she only partially abandoned, I guess. She claims that she's slow. Okay, maybe she has some neurological deficits. She claims that her husband at the time, one of the dads, was mean and she didn't have any skills and her family wouldn't stand by her. Okay, I think that would hold more water for me if she didn't then continue having and abandoning children. If that's the case, why are you continuing to have kids and abandon them? Why abandon Shaina in a motel and have social services come pick her up? Why have her around multiple truck drivers? I guess if she has no skills, then she would be struggling to make money, but there must be, I don't know, some other way. It's just, why continue having children? Why?
I have 6 children. I know where one of them is, the one I finally got to raise myself. At least 5, but Paul passed away. I have no idea what the other 4 children are doing. I don't think I was a tip-top mom. I couldn't have been. I was not prepared to be a mother. I didn't know how to be a mother. When I left my children, I thought they would be better off with somebody else raising them. I really don't know if my children would be interested in meeting me.
Well, Crystal was a mystery to her grandson Tyler until today. She walked out of Tyler's dad's life 43 years ago when he was just a toddler. Paul is no longer with us. He took his own life back in 2015, and he never got to see his mother again, something he always struggled with. Troy Dunn, the locator, worked his magic and was able to solve this mystery for Tyler and also helped reunite Crystal with her daughter Shaina, who she hadn't seen in almost 30 years. Here's Crystal's side of the story.
Jim and I had Paul in '73. Jim was really nice at first. He was a loving father, and he just changed. My husband was yelling and spanking the 2 older kids from the previous marriage. Jim got really controlling and mean. Jim wasn't physically abusive with me. It was more mental and emotional. When I left Jim, I took my 2 kids from the previous marriage. I had to leave Paul and his sister behind. Jim told me if I left and took his kids, he would kill me. And of course I believed him. Once I left my husband, I never saw Paul or my other daughter again. If I'd have known that I was never going to see them again, I might have tried to take them with me. Paul was very loving and sweet. He was the best baby. He would smile the most. He hardly ever cried. When Troy Dunn's office called me and informed me that Paul had passed, it really saddened me. I don't think anybody's passing affected me as much as that one. Out of all the children I had, I would have liked to have seen Paul the most. I didn't feel worthy to meet my grandson before, but I do want to meet him. I just love Paul so much. I'd like to have a relationship with this grandson and maybe eventually hold a great-grandchild in my arms.
Well, joining us now, I've added a very dear friend of mine and a member of the Dr. Phil Advisory Board here, Dr. Charles Sophie. Now, Dr. Sophie is the medical director of the Department of Child and Family Services for Los Angeles, which is the largest agency in the entire country. The dysfunction in this situation from this family tree is monumental, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's just generational. It's layer after layer after layer. But the good news is it can be stopped.
Well, and that's one of the things that I want to talk about here. And you know, Crystal's not aware of some of this. She wasn't aware that her son took his own life. Right. She's been in some contact with Shaina, but I don't know that you're aware of what all her life has been filled with. 21 different foster homes by high school age, subjected to in age brackets of 6 to 9 and 13 to 15, 4 children by the age of 20, self-medicating, turning to drugs, fought her way to sobriety. You've had a very rough trip here. How did you feel about her reaction seeing you for the first time in 30 years when she came out?
I thought there would be maybe a hug.
You said Paul was your favorite.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed to have favorites.
Well, I'm not sure I'd want to be your favorite if you left me behind, really, but then I'm not sure that I would have want to have gone either, given what it led to with you. And you know, what you're saying is you did the best you could with what you had at the time.
I didn't have any idea of what to do. The way I was raised fit right in with the way Jim was a husband. Don't talk to neighbors. You don't get friends. You don't need friends. The house is where you belong. Just constantly putting me down. I had just already been abused so much, like with your father. I didn't have anybody to even go to say, well, you're wrong or you're right or perhaps you should try this. I had nobody.
Dr. Sophie, you talked about the legacy here, and a question that you should have, if you don't, is how much of this is genetic? Because what we're talking about here are a lot of dysfunction and disorders. We're talking about depression, we're talking about a lack of empathy, we're talking about attachment disorders, we're talking about all kinds of maladaptive behavioral patterns in life. How much of this is genetic? Is he handcuffed to this? Is he destined to this genetically to do the same thing?
No, but first of all,
because I guarantee you want to know the answer to this, right? You want to know if you're marrying into the Titanic or if there's an opportunity here for something different.
I mean, first of all, I would like to congratulate you, and I have the highest respect for you for pulling your family together. Good for you. And it's a choice of yours and all of you to decide if that's the kind of life you want to live, because genetically you have a 50% chance to have any of these disorders. And then if you have a parent who directly has something, which you did, then you have even a 4 or 5 time greater chance of having it. So stay aware of it, stay on top of your mental health, be aware of things, and no substances, because it'll take you down a hole for all of you.
Okay, when you say a higher risk, there are some things that are genetically transmitted just for sure, like baldness.
Right.
That's something that you don't kind of maybe you have a predisposition to. It's either transmitted or it's not. Other things there's a predisposition for. And the fact that it can be overcome, I was talking to Carla Pennington, our executive producer, and she pointed out quite rightly, you had 4 children starting at 17, you raised them all.
Yes.
So that's a perfect example of the fact that you can overcome that both environmentally and genetically and do what you need to do. So that's a perfect example of the fact that you don't have to become victim to the predisposition.
Right.
We'll be right back. You've now met your grandmother, the woman that your father was looking for, and you completed that. You finished that mission for him. Are you glad of that?
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm very, very happy about that.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be, I know he's looking down proud.
My advice to anyone, and Troy has really been good about this with families over the years, is you always tell people that reunite under whatever circumstances to take it a step at a time, right?
That is correct. Can I just tell you, because I know your dad's not here to say it, I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. What you've been through. I mean, I think as we all sit here, we all might forget that one of us in this group is 21 years old. I mean, that is extraordinary. You've seen things that none of us should ever have to see. You've walked through a journey we should never have to walk through. And I think you made your dad very proud today, and I think that you are the greatest asset in your family.
Sorry, I didn't recognize you. I should have.
Do you have something you've been wanting to say to your mother-in-law?
He was a really good man. He really, really, really was. He went through a really bad situation growing up. But I'm going to tell you, he was a good dad. He was a good husband. And he was always thinking he had to protect everybody. We miss him very much every day.
You had given me a date and a deadline for when we were going to get this done because of that, and you told me why. Is that something you still want to ask?
I would like you to come to my wedding in Texas.
I don't know how I would ever get there.
Here is your grandson. He wanted his father to be there, but his father is gone. So for him, the next best thing was his father's mom. Is this a wedding that you want to attend?
Yes.
I also wanted to invite you guys to.
I love that.
As Dr. Phil mentioned earlier about taking this one step at a time, I would encourage all of you to not just take it slowly, but to still continue to pick out the relationships that feel good and natural to you.
Wow, so this was an incredible story. So in this episode, Tyler's looking for his grandmother who went missing 43 years ago. She abandoned her son Paul, who is Tyler's dad. At some point, Paul, after having been in foster care and been through the system and suffering PTSD, was assaulted, suffering a traumatic brain injury, and then later he unalived himself. Yeah, it's just wild to see all of the ripple effects that have happened throughout the family and throughout the generations, where they're talking about generational trauma and the cycles repeating themselves. I am glad to see that it appears like some of these cycles should not be repeating themselves. Tyler seems like he's on top of things. He married his fiance at the end, we saw, and he seems like a wonderful young man who put in all of this work and effort to find his grandmother for his father's memory. Shaina, who was through the system and had 4 kids by age 20, raised all of her children instead of abandoning them. Crystal, to me, was a major disappointment. I do, however, understand that she lived in a different time, a different era, where life was very different for someone like her. And it sounds like she really did not have the resources or the support that she would have needed to take care of all these kids, which is why I'm still wondering, why did you have them? Why continue having kids after abandoning the first couple and then the third? Like, why did you do that? I don't understand this. But I mean, at that time, I don't know what the state of birth control was. I don't know how available that was, but I think it sounds like the issue is more that she was just kind of meeting a bunch of different men and not thinking ahead and not really caring about the responsibility that would then be on her shoulders afterwards. It's really disheartening to see her come out on stage and not hug her daughter Shaina after not seeing her for over 30 years. But honestly, from what I saw, I don't believe that Crystal even has the capacity, the mental, emotional, neurological capacity to be motherly to anyone. If she did, she never would have abandoned all of her kids in the first place. And she would have made some effort to reach out to them and find them at some point in all of these years. She claims that Paul was a sweet baby and he was her favorite, yet she still abandoned him and never made the slightest effort to find him later. Even after his father died, the man that she said she was afraid of, she still never made any efforts to find her son or her other daughter or any of her other kids. And I'm wondering, where are the other kids? Are they okay? Are they alive? Have they all gone through the system as well? What happened to the kid that she actually claims that she raised? Apparently that's questionable, but she spent the most time with him. Who knows? It is disappointing that she did not attend Tyler's wedding at the end. But again, I don't think she has the capacity to do anything like that. I would expect her then to immediately disappear again, or maybe kind of linger a little bit for a couple months and then have a hard cutoff and disappear like she did 30 years ago with Shaina when she dropped a note on the floor. With Shaina, when she dropped a note on the floor, it was like deuces. But what did you guys think about this episode? What do you think about Crystal? What do you think are her motivations for having all of these kids and abandoning all of them? Do you believe her story that she was afraid and didn't know what to do? And if so, why do you think she would continue having children just to later abandon them? What do you think about the rest of the family, Shaina and everything that she suffered and survived? And what do you think about Tyler? I think he's a wonderful young man and I wish him the best in his life and in his marriage. But you guys let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you have any similar family stories and experiences, let me know. Drop it in the comments.